Happy Multichrome Monday. If this is your first time here, my name is Millie and I love any makeup, especially shiny, shifty, sparkly eyeshadows. And Multichrome Monday is a series I do here on my channel where I feature different multichromes from all different kinds of brands. I do swatches, swatch comparisons, tutorials, and really anything and everything that has to do with multichrome eyeshadows. And today, I've been kind of thinking about this for a while. Really since the beginning, the very first time I tried an iridescent multichrome and I've layered it base, I've been always wondering about how similar are those iridescent multichromes to black base multichromes, and do you really need both? Like if you buy a black base multichrome and then you buy a very similar iridescent multichrome just without the base, are you really buying two of the same shadows? And I always wonder that. I do have a series within the Multichrome Monday series where I do layer iridescent multichromes over different colorful kind of mattes, but those I've never really compared to a black base multichrome. So I think this is a different kind of layering video, maybe potentially series. So today we're going to do a little bit of an exploration. So I have a bunch of different shades here. I try to keep it for the most part within the brand, but I can do another video if you're interested and kind of cross mix and match. So we're going to explore a couple of different colors. So I have a green to blue, a purple, a red, a little bit of a different kind of like lighter red, as well as like a pink to green, which is up here. So for the shades, I wanted to choose a nice spectrum of black base multichromes. Now, not all of these have the same level of black base. Some of these are quite a bit darker than others, specifically Kiln. You can really see the dark base on that one. Meanwhile, Ember from Menagerie doesn't quite have such a dark base. It still looks darker, but it's not like if you blend it out, you can really see the dark grayish, almost black base to it. Something else to note here is usually black base multichromes are very smooth and super metallic versus some iridescent shades might be a little bit on the chunky side. And Proteus from Devinah is an example of that. The rest of these iridescent shades are for the most part very smooth. So I'm going to be showing you hand swatches of all the shades in comparison over a black base. And I'm also going to be demoing only 3 of these on the lid so you can kind of see. And the look I'm wearing is going to be the last demo. It's just one thing if you're putting them all over the lid, and it's another thing if you're using it with colorful mattes that kind of match the shades. And just seeing like if you were to use them in a look, how different would the look be? So I thought this would be an interesting exploration to do. So let's get right into swatches and then the demos, and then I'll give you some of my findings at the end of the video. So first up is Alter Ego at the top by itself. Below that is Euphoria, and it's layered over the Devinah Color Fix in Blackout, and below that is Alter Ego on top of the Color Fix as well, just to show it. So you can kind of see that Euphoria looks very similar when it's layered. It's obviously got a little bit different tone and it is brighter, and it's also going to depend on the formula because some of the iridescent multichromes do tend to be a bit more on the flaky side. Next up is Kiln at the top from Clionadh. Below that is Ray from Clionadh layered over black base, and below that is Kiln again layered over a black base. I do think that a black base can actually almost slightly dull out a black base multichrome, so that's really why I don't usually use an extra black base underneath the darker multichromes. So here you can see they're very similar. I feel like in person they're a little bit less similar. Again, Ray is just super glowy. It is very similar. The shift is also very similar. Ember from Menagerie. This one is a darker multichrome, but I don't really feel like it has much of a black base, like especially compared to Kiln. So below that is Phoenix from Terra. I feel like these two look the most similar. I do feel like in person, again, they are a little bit more different looking than on camera. And then below that is Ember over a actual black base. So you can see it does just turn a bit darker, but I do feel like it takes the shine down and the brightness down. But the shift is a little bit similar. The shift is stronger on Phoenix, especially when it's layered like this. Next up is Mirage from Terra, and then Astral layered over a black base, and then Mirage layered over a black base. So you can see just how much it transforms. I do think that Astral looks a bit more closer in tone in person. It looks really red on camera, but it looks very similar to Mirage. I feel like these, if you had on the lid, similar, and the shift is also very similar. Flame Blown at the top, and then Aura below that over a black base, and then Flame Blown at the bottom over a black base. And the tone is obviously totally different, and the shift is pretty different as well. But I don't have anything close from Clionadh that is a jeweled multichrome that has this same tone as Aura layered over a black base. Last up is Exosphere at the top. Below that is Proteus over a black base, and below that is Exosphere over a black base. These are all from Devinah. You can see these look very similar together straight on. Again, Proteus is brighter and it is also chunkier. And I do think that because it is chunkier, it can especially look brighter because of that. But the shift is pretty close. Pretty similar to a blue. So I put on the Devinah Color Fix in Blackout on this eye. It's a bit messy because this is really just for showing how these look on the lid, not necessarily worrying about being super neat about it. Sometimes things can look really similar swatched out, but then on the lid they might not, and vice versa. So I picked up Alter Ego on to my brush, and I'm just going to be putting it basically all over the lid. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about being neat because that is not the purpose of this particular demo. So I'm just gonna put it kind of over here, and you can start to see how it's blending out a little bit in the edges to a dark gray almost, like right here especially. So I'm actually gonna dip into the shade and just blend it out a little bit so you can really see, like, it has that black base, which is why I usually feel like I don't need to actually put a black base multi-chrome on top of a black base because it already has it built in. I'm actually gonna go in with my finger just to see if I can foil it a bit more. And then on this eye, I'm going in with Euphoria. And I did mist my brush, and I'm just going to take that all over. And I'm also gonna go in with my finger and just layer it over. So that way you can see them together. I think I'm gonna go in and just layer this one a little bit more. I did kind of blend it out a bit. So I don't think these two are the same tone. So this one is a bit more, obviously just brighter in general, and less blue. This one has a lot of blue in it. So even kind of straight on, I think when I was picking them out, it might have been just like the lighting. So these, I would say, look pretty different on the lid. They give you a different effect. This one does look much shinier, even just like on its own, but also layered over the black. And then let's take a look at the shift. And this eye. Taking Kiln from Clionadh, and I did dampen my brush, and I'm just taking that all over my lid and blending it out a little bit on the edges. I'm gonna take a little bit more of the shadow, and then I'm gonna go in with my pinky and just go over that on the lid portion. And then on the other eye, I'm gonna be going in with Ray. I did dampen my brush, and I'm just taking that all over. Ooh, that definitely is different, like pretty different. I feel like when I swatch these, they looked very, very similar. But now that I'm doing it on my lid, I'm just going in with my finger. They look so different on the lid. This one looks so much brighter. I don't think I have a multi-chrome, like a black base multi-chrome, that looks like this on the lid. Like it's totally a different vibe for sure. Even with the black base, it's just so much brighter, and the tone is also different. So here's the shift. And here's Kiln. So I used the Blends palette from Blend Bunny, and I just put on Remedy in the crease, and I blended it out with Inside Joke, and then I put Luxe and Nevermore on the outer corner, and then I did put the Blackout Color Fix all over my lid here and just kind of blended it a little bit. So for this last look, I'm going to be showing these both in kind of context. So if they were in an eyeshadow look, so this one without a black base because it already has a dark base, and then this side with the dark base, putting on the iridescent shadow. And I'm going to be using Exosphere from Devinah and Proteus from Devinah. So first going in with Exosphere. Oh, the shade is so beautiful and so shiny. I feel like this one doesn't have maybe as much of a black base. Some of the other shades, it doesn't quite like really blend out that dark. And I do have a bit of fallout. So So that's what that one looks like on the lid. And then on the other side, I actually am going to go in with the NYX Glitter Primer because Proteus is on the flaky side. So that already kind of, I think, will make a difference in the way that they look on the lid because it is so much flakier. So going in with just very lightly, and I'm going to kind of build it up as much as I want. And I feel like this one might look actually pretty close to what the other side looks like. Like out of all of these comparisons, I feel like these two might look the most similar. Obviously, again, this one is just, it is chunkier, so it is translating just a little bit more sparkly and definitely more glowy. It's like almost like it's just like super, super bright. And just get rid of some of the fallout the best that I can. So here's what they look like in comparison to each other. I definitely think you could tell that I'm wearing two different eyeshadows, but they're very, very similar. So here's Proteus, and here's Exosphere. So I think the answer to the question, do you need a black-based multichrome if you already have a similar shade that is an iridescent multichrome that you can layer over a black base to get a similar look? I would say yes, because one, it's going to be extremely, extremely hard to really find an exact same iridescent multichrome that looks the way a black-based multichrome would look. I do think that there are, however, a couple of exceptions to this. If you prefer the black-based multichrome and you don't want to have to deal with layering anything, and you really think you would get more use out of a black-based multichrome because you like the smokier look, then definitely I think that having two of each of these, for example, still is pretty different, and you can also have fun layering them together. However, if you're not really into the smokier look and you do want to explore multichromes, but you do not quite want to have a smoky look every time you use one of these black-based multichromes, then I think getting just iridescent multichromes will really be the best value for you, because that way you have the option of layering them if you so like, but you also don't have to do that, and you can also layer it over different kind of matte eyeshadows versus the black-based multichrome. You're gonna get the same look no matter what you layer it over, because it is very, very opaque. The colors you see in the pen, you're gonna see on the lid, versus the iridescent multichrome, you can just layer that one. And also from the swatches, you could see that they do look different when they're layered over the black base. Overall, generally, they're much brighter, and also it's going to depend very, very much on the kind of formula you have. So a flakier eyeshadow might look even more brighter and more sparkly than a black-based multichrome. And that would be the other thing to consider, is sometimes you can get some skin texture accentuation if you do use chunkier formulas. So you have to make sure you're going in and layering very lightly to avoid any of that happening, versus with these black-based multichromes, I'm sure I have some black-based multichromes that might be a little chunky. For the most part though, they're always really, really smooth. And so with those, you will not experience any skin texture accentuation. So that is another thing to keep in mind. So I really feel like it's going to come down to your preference. And I do think that, again, if you're not into the black-based multichromes, if you find them intimidating, these iridescent multichromes are just such a great value then, because you're going to get so much use out of them because of just how versatile they are. I think something similarly to this would be some multichromes that have a little bit of a lighter base, so almost like Ember from Menagerie Cosmetics, but even like more like the gray base multichromes from Terra, or the deep iridescent multichromes from Clionadh. Those also have that layerability to them. They are a little bit more opaque, but they don't have a dark base to them. So I think that's my conclusion from this, and I think the next step would be to maybe do more shades like this, and also to incorporate some other multichromes that don't have a dark base, that are layerable, but they are not as translucent as the iridescent multichromes. I think that would be another good exploration. And again, like, I think the layerability with multichromes in general is just like endless. Of course, if you're kind of layering two together, you might lose some of the shifts, because you really need the whole area of the space to really see the entirety of the shift. So if you kind of put two multichromes next to each other, you're not going to see all the shifts. But if you're layering them on top of each other, like all over the lid, then I think you're going to create some really beautiful colors. What can I say? Multichromes are just so much fun. There's just endless opportunities to play with these, to layer them, etc. I feel like a broken record. I've said that you can layer them so many times, but I really hope that this this video was helpful to you. Let me know your thoughts below. Are you surprised by any of this? Were you kind of expecting this? What is your experience with layering iridescent multichromes over black? Which do you prefer? And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribe. There's so much multichrome content uploading my channel and much more to come. You don't want to miss out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.